Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Botsociety podcast, where we interview designers and developers and ask them questions about conversation design, creativity, and more. My name is Monica. I'm a product manager at Botsociety, and I will be your host today. In our second episode, we interviewed Thiago Marafon, CTO of Youper, an emotional health assistant powered by AI. We spoke about designing conversations for emotional and mental health, the rise of AI in health, being an empathetic and productive engineering leader, and more. Hope you enjoy. Thiago, it's a pleasure having you with us today. Thank you for agreeing to be on the Botsociety podcast.
Hi, Monica. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So can you tell us more about yourself and Youper? How did you get into the space of mental health conversation design?
Sure. So I'm Thiago Marafon. I'm the CTO at Youper. I'm a computer scientist, and I must say that I love what I do. I see coding as an art. I love to architect and write beautiful lines of code. And at the same time, I feel really motivated to build software that has this meaningful purpose, just like mental health. So I've been working with software development for the last 15 years now. And throughout my career, I have worked with many different technologies, such as AI, digital security, and developing big enterprise systems. But it was in 2016 when I was developing my own chatbot to help people to find transportation for groups of travelers that I met Jose Hamilton, the CEO of Youper. And he presented to me the Youper app and his vision of building this emotional health assistant to help everyone on the planet. And I must confess that I was really fascinated by this vision and by this challenge. He invited me to become the CTO of the company, and I accepted.
That's amazing. Can you tell us more behind the idea of a chatbot for mental health?
Yes, sure. There are many mental health apps out there. However, we realized that most of them, they are failing. So people start using those mental health apps, and on an average, after 30 days, 97% of users stop using those apps. So we can see that there is a problem with engagement using those apps.
Mm-hmm.
And we understood that the current state of technology is not understanding the users, and it's not helping the users. So that's why we decided to create Youper to be a personal assistant, to be always by your side, understand what you're saying, understand your feelings, and helping you to feel better. So today, Youper has one of the highest retention rates among mental health apps. And I truly believe that this is because Youper is personalized, it's conversational, and it's very empathetic.
Mm-hmm. So this is clearly an issue you saw in the field that you decided to go after and try to improve. So how have you seen this field develop over time?
Some wellness apps, and I would mention like Calm and Headspace,
Mm-hmm.
they did a very good job increasing the awareness about emotional health and how apps can help people to feel better. But the problem that we see in those apps is that they apply this one size fits all solution. They deliver meditation and mindfulness to all users, regardless of their needs, regardless of their characteristics. And we see Youper different. I would say that Youper represents the second generation of mental health apps. Mm-hmm. Because Youper uses AI to personalize the experience, delivering different psychological techniques to each user, and also depending on the moments.
What do you mean, the moments? That sounds really interesting.
For example, if you are having trouble getting asleep, falling asleep, so Youper can suggest some mindfulness techniques, especially for that specific moment. Or if you are in the middle of the day thinking about work, and the problems that you are facing with your boss, for example, Youper has different techniques, different exercise for that specific situation and moment.
I see. That's really interesting. And that's a great use of AI to help develop this field more. And like you said, bring the second generation of these apps. What is the story behind Youper's name? I'm curious.
So Youper has this very simple name, and it comes from the joint of two words, you super. So the idea is that Youper is your personal assistant that will help you feel the best version of yourself.
That's really cute. I'm sure that you talk about your story and Youper's story to your users. How many people are using Youper right now?
So far, we had more than 1 million downloads, approaching 1.5 million downloads.
Wow.
And we are seeing this user base growing, mainly driven by word of mouth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is there any particular geographic areas that are more popular?
Yeah, we are focusing the English speaker countries.
Mm-hmm.
So US, UK, Australia, mainly those countries.
We see a lot of mental health apps and a lot of businesses kind of start on these markets, but moreover, kind of now looking at the users. As we all know, mental health has been a private subject for years. How have you gotten over 1 million users, almost 1.5 million, to trust your apps with their thoughts and their feelings every day?
Yeah, so as it happens to every new idea, we faced a lot of skepticism at the beginning. Of course, who are those that I'm sharing my thoughts, my personal things, right? So there is only one way to overcome that. You need to deliver real outcomes to the user. So, and everything that we do at Uber starts with science. So our CEO is a psychiatrist and leads this amazing team of scientists and psychologists. That's the way we are really delivering real outcomes to the users. But alongside science, we are also very transparent and loyal to our users. And we make it very clear in our privacy policy that we don't sell any user's information to anyone for any reason. So all personal data is stored and it's very private in a very safe cloud infrastructure. And I must say that privacy and data protection is extremely important to us.
Yeah, and for something of this matter, I can see how it's so important to users to get this extra validation from your side that everything is very safe.
Yes, for sure.
Great. So, as we usually do on the Botsociety podcast, we've gathered a bunch of questions from some of our users and people who are interested either in the voice and the chat space and mental health apps. I'm going to start bringing in questions from the audience that we've collected before. Narcissus from Chatbot Work has asked, and we're also interested about this. What's your creative process at Youper? How do you design and how do you articulate the design across different teams?
So at Youper, I'm very proud to say that we have a small but very talented team. And we believe that having a team that is great with great people, and especially with radically open-minded people that can work together and, having this conversation and exchange of ideas, this is essential to build a conversational mental health app. So having this multidisciplinary team, like with psychologists, psychiatrists, engineers, designers, data scientists, everybody together thinking of each area and then having like one person managing them and aligning them to build this app. So this is how we work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we see this being super important. I mean, the importance of having well rounded and diverse teams, but this sounds like the epitome of that especially in this field, you want to learn how to best serve your users. How do you approach designing conversations and scripts for the app, kind of between the different teams?
Right. So everything starts with data. We collect feedback from users, both quantitative and qualitative feedback. And I would say that collecting feedback is very easy, but the challenge is how can you extract insightful and meaningful information from millions of feedback messages?
Yeah.
So we have this process to organize the feedback and information that comes from store reviews, social media messages, everything. And we use this as an input to drive our conversation design. So then this input that comes from the data scientists, it goes to the psychologists that will think of how can we use different psychological techniques for those specific situations that users are trying to use Youper for. Mm-hmm. And then this input goes to the engineers that build this personal assistant.
Wow, that sounds like a very elaborate process that you've built to make sure that you are taking in feedback from users and you are adjusting your designs based on this data coming in. How do you actually test new conversational designs? And if yes, how do you do so?
Thinking about testing a conversational design, it comes to my mind like two levels of testing. One is having this very complex sequence of conversations and possible paths in a conversation. You need to test the consistency to see if you don't have any bugs, any conversation stuck moments. And also you need to test the content itself to see how engaging is the content, right? Mm-hmm. So testing the consistency, I would say it's impossible to test it manually because there are so many possible combinations of conversations and branches inside a conversation. So in order to test that, we need to automate as much as possible the process with tools, scripts, integrating tools to not deliver something that's broken. And to test the content, it's very hard. I can think how we can automate testing content. So the idea is to, as I said, being very data driven to design the best conversation possible, mm-hmm. and then monitor the engagement of the users on production and be very fast to react in case of something that's not very good for the users.
It makes sense because you want to be able to help your users as soon as possible. And that brings me to my next question. So I was going through the Youper website and I actually found a very helpful page. Everyone should check it out. It's called Science, and you actually explain how Youper does what it does using AI. I was really intrigued by this statement that the average length of a conversation with Youper required to produce positive changes is 7 minutes. That's a very short amount of time to be able to produce positive change in someone who has downloaded an app to use for different reasons, but it's still, you're getting your result in 7 minutes, and not many apps or services can do this. So I'm interested, what iterations did you make in the product to be able to help people as fast as possible and bring this time down to 7 minutes?
Yeah, Youper is designed to understand human emotions and guide the users in a quick conversation that will focus on make you rethink your thoughts and think differently about the situations that are causing them. So the idea is that you will have a different perspective of the situations. And as our user base grows, I must say that we are able to collect more and more data. And this is also improving the algorithm. So every time that we launch a new version, we are better and better in making the users like feeling better. So this way, Youper evolves also like including new psychological techniques, and this will help users in more and more different situations.
That's great. I have another question from the audience. It's Jeremy Brown from Comcast asked, what is the most interesting thing about conversation design in health? And I know you've had, as you said, you've had experience in chatbots for, you said, for arranging car sharing or something similar. So, how has it been different to be in conversation design in health and mental health versus something more transactional or for marketing purposes?
Yeah, comparing Youper to a chatbot, for example, ordering a pizza or maybe buying a flight ticket, the main difference is that Youper is not just a chatbot, it's more than that. It's a personal assistant. And what's the main difference in this case? Being a personal assistant, Youper is able to remember things about you and also to learn more things. So the more you use Youper, the more Youper will learn about you and be more personalized. So we tend to see like just the chatbot interface, but the interface in our case is just the tip of the iceberg. There is a lot of things behind the scenes, data being processed to create this personal experience and make the user feel more in control of their emotional health.
That's great. And I think it's very important that you've been able to see what it's like to be in conversation design in another field and then come to this field and see how different the team at Youper works, for example. And so what do you think is next for Youper?
We are constantly evolving the Youper's AI towards our vision of providing this emotional health assistant for everyone on the planet. So we've been collecting more and more data and also designing new techniques, new psychological techniques that will help users in different situations. And we are very excited with our roadmap for 2020. So I say, like, stay tuned.
Anything you can share ahead of time?
We are increasing Youper's memory. So one feature that we are very excited is Youper will be able to help you plan goals to overcome difficult situations in your life. And it will help you like to remember about those goals. And also it will ask you if you were able to finish them and accomplish these goals. So this is a very exciting feature that we are planning for the next versions.
That sounds really interesting and like a great feature to have in an app like this. So I know we've been talking about using AI in Youper quite a bit. Could you go more in detail? There's the team at Botsociety was interested. It was also a question by Rodolfo Rodriguez from Vivet and Tom from Advisero in Poland. So again, to rephrase, how do you actually use AI in Youper?
Right. So we use AI in our company in many situations. As I mentioned before, we use AI also to evaluate the user's feedback. So we have like millions of messages and we need to group them and cluster those messages and feedback and to extract new ideas, new insights. But inside the app, we use machine learning to teach Youper how to personalize the user's experience. And also we use a natural language processing to process the user's input and understand the situation, what the user is talking about. So that's another way to personalize the user's experience.
Lava Goelv has asked, how does one come up with a successful idea for a robot?
That's a very interesting question. I heard this question from other people as well. So, like, people come to me and say, "Oh, I love chatbots. I know how to code them, but I don't have an idea. So, what's your advice in this case?" I would say that before coming up with an idea, the first step is to think about a problem that you have the passion to solve. And very often, you don't have the skills to solve that problem. Another advice that I would say is that you need to find partners because the problems that are not solved today, they are very complex. So you need to find partners to help you complement your set of skills. And then the last step is to evaluate if the robot is the best alternative to solve that problem. So then try to build this robot as simple as possible and test with your users and see if this is the best solution.
You were talking about this passion and kind of believing in the idea for the robot or the chatbot. What got you interested in the idea of Youper?
I must say that when I joined Youper and at that time, I saw the users' messages reporting like how Youper was helping them and how difficult was their lives before Youper. I really felt that we were doing something really big, something that was saving lives, was being able to make people to live better lives and being able to work and have good relationships with their families, their parents. This is a mission that I'm in love with this mission. And I really hope that we can make Youper better and better to help more and more people.
That's really inspiring. And I find the next question quite inspiring as well. So Srilakshmi Dinesh from Create Architecture and Design, who actually is a Youper user, said, "Hello, I use Youper all the time, and I would like to thank you for the brilliant idea. Background is in electronic systems, and I would love to know what skills are essential to be an empathetic and productive engineering leader. Would love to hear from you. Good luck and best wishes in your journey forward." So I wanted to end with that question. It is important to kind of in this field bridge both the engineering and the AI side of it and this empathy that you feel aligned with your users and with the mission.
First of all, I'm very happy to receive a message from a Youper user. Thank you so much for using Youper, and I hope this is making you feel happier. So this is a very nice question. I love to be a leader. I've been leading people for the last 7 years. And based on my experience, I tend to think that some leaders that are very empathetic, they tend not to be very productive. And leaders that are very productive, they tend to be like tough people. But I think we need to find a balance between those two characteristics. And I like to be a leader that's very supportive. I like to have time. I like to reserve my time to be available to my team and talk to them and help them to solve their problems, to not feel blocked. And I think this is very, very important. And at the same time, I like to balance this ownership feeling. Like I like to delegate responsibilities and make them be owners of some processes, owners of tools, parts of the code. So this way we can balance and we can make people feel like very challenged, very motivated. I'm sure in this scenario, the team will be very productive.
That sounds like really great strategy for, like you said, empowering your team, but at the same time, giving them responsibilities and being supportive and empathetic at the same time. How big is the Youper team at the moment?
At the moment, we are 8 people. There are 8 of us here, but we are growing the team. So we hope that in the beginning of the next year, we'll be 10 people building this amazing app.
That's great. Thank you, Thiago, so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Monica. It was my pleasure.
That's all for this episode. We hope you liked it. We will continue to interview people in the chat and voice spaces in different fields. Know someone who would be a good fit or have a topic request? Let us know at info@botsociety.io or at Botsociety on any social media. Botsociety is a conversational design tool. With Botsociety, you can design voice and chatbot interactions in the same way that you design apps and websites with Sketch or Figma. We have a free plan. Check it out on botsociety.io.